Hi guys, and welcome to this video. So in this video I'm gonna show you how to shoot cabins when you're on the beach side, like the one you can see behind me. Alright, let's get to it. So I was actually not really planning on being here at this location. I was driving up north of France with my motorhome, and I had like a message error on the engine, which made me go to to a garage. And yeah, I have to change something there, and I have to wait about a week in order to get the part, but I can still drive, so that's okay. I can still move around, so I'm staying around the garage, but luckily I'm in a very nice place, like where there are a lot of beach sides with nice area and nice meadows and so on. So I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun, and what you see behind me, it's part of this fun. I came to a city which is called Gouville-sur-Mer, and you have pretty much the seaside and amazing cabins like the one you see behind me. So you've got rows of cabins. So there is like this one, there is another one a little bit further, and you have them with very nice rooftops. And so I'm gonna show you now how to shoot them with different lenses in different situations, different lighting, and different perspectives and composition. And hopefully you're gonna enjoy the show. So what's really cool with these cabins is that you really have a huge contrast between the rooftop, which is like colored like yellow, red, blue, and so on, and the main base, the main building, which is white. And so that really contrasts with all the colors around. It's really peaceful. So these are the type of cabins you can find here in France. I think you can also find some more in the north, like the Netherlands maybe, and Denmark, but I'm not so sure about it, so don't quote me on that, please. And so there are like a lot of opportunities around the place. So I'm gonna use three types of lenses, from ultra wide angle to a telephoto lens. So from my XF 10-24 millimeters to my XF 55 to 200 millimeters. And I'm gonna show you how you can compose with this type of cabins here. So hopefully it's gonna be helpful for you, it's gonna inspire you, and hopefully help you to catch better pictures when you're in this situation. So the first lens I'm gonna use is the XF 55 to 200 millimeters, which is my telephoto lens. That's an equivalent 70 to 300 millimeters, I believe. I'm gonna shoot the cabins that are just here. I'm not sure if you can see them well on the video here. And the cool thing about using my telephoto lens is that I can have a long reach and capture some details from far away. I can get like little more creative composition, and the cool thing as well is that it reduces the perspectives and kind of compress the perspectives, and you kind of get a little more like creative with this type of photographs. We're not gonna shoot a lot with this lens because it's I can get close from the cabins, and I don't really need to be that far away. But there are still some few nice compositions with this maras, I guess that's called, this grass which is here close to the beach, and I can play with them and a little bit with the light. So let's see what it provides, and I'm gonna show you this a little later. So actually the cool thing about shooting with a telephoto lens is that you can get a little more creative when you do your shooting. So by using a lower f number, you will get a narrower depth of field, meaning that you will be able to blur your foreground or your background and create a distinct subject which will be neat on either side of your picture, the one this side. So in my situation, so since I'm shooting with grass on the ground now, I'm placing myself right behind the grass and getting some creative perspective by blurring the grass due to my low f number, which is about like f4, f5, f6, depending what I decide. And I focus on the cabins on the background. And by focusing on this background cabins, they will be neat, and this will create the effect I desire. All right, let's check some few pictures to explain that. So I've now changed my lens to my XF 18 to 55 millimeters so that I can get a wider field of view, but also be able to get a little closer and get a little more creative, because that's what you want to get when you shoot this type of cabins. You want to get like a little more creative shots. You want to get some that are a bit wider that you can maybe play with later on, like do maybe panoramas and stuff like that. And you want to get like closer ones where you can get a little of creativity, which I'm going to show you right after this one. So that's now time for a little more creativity. So I basically placed myself on the right hand side of some of the cabins, and you have them aligned one behind each other. And I mean, it's not perfect, so they are not really very well aligned. So that gives a very nice composition when nothing is perfect, but you want to make it perfect with your camera. So you get like one after the other by zooming a little. I'm now at 35 millimeters, which is nearly 50 millimeters, I believe, in a full frame. And by doing this, I kind of compress everything and get everything into my little frame, the little frame of my camera. And that's really producing some creative images. And with the color contrast, that really helps to enhance the picture. Last part of my shooting from this morning. So I finally changed my lens to the wide-angle lens, my XF10 to 24 millimeters. The idea here is to really catch very wide angle, which is totally doable because this place allows you to get the cabins all over the length. So if you place yourself on the right angle, which is about like maybe 45 degrees more or less from the cabin line, then you will get a nice angle that gives you a flow in order to get the pictures going and a very nice perspective from one end to the other. So I'm gonna get a perspective from left to right from the cabins, and on the foreground I get this Maras grass, which will give some sense of perspective and of nice foreground, which contrasts a little bit with the white from the houses. So I'm gonna take a few more shots here. I saw another composition earlier, and then I'm gonna share them with you. So the important thing when shooting with a wide angle is, of course, to consider a broad image. That's a really important fact, but that's what it's made for. But mostly what's important to do is to look for diagonals. So in this case, I do have this house in my foreground that creates a diagonal towards all the other cabins over there. And that's created a really amazing perspective. And with the distortion of the wide angle lens, that really creates like an immersive effect into the picture. So when shooting cabins, it's important you look for this type of compositions and this type of positions. So you can tweak them around you will always find some composition which is better than another one, but always consider that a diagonal, something you should look for when using a wide angle, especially in this situation when there is a little bit of architecture. So I'm finally back in my camper and in my studio. So that's something I guess I can call a studio, even though it's in my camper. I might do a tour later, a bit later, so that you can see a little more how do I work and what's my studio and what do I need. That might help you for your future installation, or if you're just curious, like wanting to know how that works. That's also cool. So. I had a really interesting shooting today when I was looking at these cabins there. So I kind of went into something that was a little more a creative way. That's something where I wasn't really expecting to have this type of shots finally. But like if you look at these shots, for example, there are something that are not really something I usually do. It is more something where I had to go out of my comfort zone, where I had to really look for something new and new perspectives, new point of view, use a little bit of newer technique, or let's not say newer, but something I don't usually use, like for example using a low f numbers. So like most of the people you will talk to that are doing landscape photography are using high f numbers. Of course this depends on the shot you're doing, but in most cases you will use a higher aperture number. So in this case I was like really looking for new perspectives and something that was really different, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it. That was like even the final result. I really enjoyed it. I guess I have some few pictures that I could potentially print and actually use in my camera, because that's the decoration is pretty poor here for now. I do have like all the lighting here like look fancy, but the reality is that I miss a little bit of decoration. So I might just print some of them like to have something a little more attractive, a little more decorative here. And on the other hand, I also have like those classic shots, which are like those photographs that are like something I do a little more frequently, like using a wide angle lens, waiting for sunset, sunrise, having the perfect lighting. I mean, the one I call the perfect lighting, like at sunrise, sunset. And in this case, these are like my classic shots, the one that I'm comfortable to photograph, and that's something that I truly enjoy, and I'm always coming back to this style. So that's why sometimes going a little bit out of that way and going into the creative way is something I truly enjoy. So that's actually what was interesting about doing this video, is that I was expecting doing a video where I would teach a lot or say a lot about like how to shoot cabins here, but I finally like kind of went a little bit on the other way, like realizing that that would be a little more like what to do when you're on your new site, and you want to go like more creative, more classic way, and finally you go both way at the same times, and you take like different set of shots, and you manage to discover something new and something actually attractive, and yeah, you get some new satisfaction based on these shots. In any case, you should definitely keep in mind that you can use your three types of lenses when you are in this situation. So I used my ultra wide angle lens, I used my mid focal range lens, and I used my telephoto lens. And really the three of them were complementary and allowed me to do something different in each cases. And the one I actually enjoyed the most was the mid focal range, because that allowed me to get close to my subject and to create a little more intimate shots that had like a different atmosphere than what I am used to. So try to use your tree lens when you're like in this situation close to a beach, or actually in you can do it in many situations, but in this case, that's if you're shooting cabins close to a beach. Try to look for different perspectives, and don't dismiss your mid-focal range and your telephoto lens. We would tend to go towards something a little wider to get closer and get wider, and actually that's probably not the right approach, because you will get nice shots, but that's probably not the one you will like the most. When I looked at all my pictures, I have about 160 shots from the wide angle lens and about 150 with the mid-focal range lens, and I would say that my mid-focal range lens have much more shots I love from this lens. So really look at this. And the other thing that you should definitely not dismiss is the lighting. Of course, depending on the time of the day, you will get different lighting, but at some point, like it's winter time, I could shoot until like 10, 11 and still get pretty good light, pretty soft light, and the sun would not show up all the time. Had a lot of gray shot because the sky was cloudy, but those shots where the sun was highlighting the grass and the beach and the water and the cabins like were really fantastic. These are the one I truly love, and I really had a lot of fun taking them and then looking at them and processing them. It was like really a lot of fun. So really, really, really look at your lighting and don't dismiss it. Like when you see a little bit of sun, just try a composition that seems to work and just go for it. Sometimes the light appears for only a few seconds, for a little longer, but if it's like very short, at least you will have a nice shot. So let me wrap up here. So I guess what's important in this case is to look for creative shots and classical shots, so that you have like two sets of different shots that you can play with afterwards. Then try to use all your lenses to have from ultra wide angle until telephoto lens, and try to play with the different focal range when shooting these cabins or like shooting anything close to the beach. And last but not least, try to really pay attention to the lighting. Like so many times we don't really pay enough attention to the lighting, while it's the most important thing in photography, in my opinion, or at least one of the most important thing in photography. So really, don't dismiss it. Okay, so we are hitting the end of this video. So I hope that you enjoy watching it, that you learn something, that maybe you even got inspired by the things I showed you and I told you. And right now, if you really like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of the content I will deliver in the future, click on the follow button below. I'd be glad if you're a new subscriber. And stay posted. I will be delivering new content soon about new places, about landscape photography in general. So I guess I'll see you next time, and bye for now.